Hi, I'm Jessica Ridley. Welcome to Sustaining Australia TV 2022, coming to you again from the Kellogg Australia site in Sydney. Sustaining Australia TV is an innovative online news-style program proudly brought to you by the Australian Food and Grocery Council and ASN Media. In this episode, we focus on sustainability as we cover the issues around key topics of importance to the nation's food and grocery industry. We look at new approaches to farming, innovations in packaging and recycling, and the future of plant-based and alternative proteins. We'll also get thoughts from the industry about how it is responding to climate change challenges and learn about the opportunities ahead.
I think we're going to see a real boom. So we're moving away from globalisation to localisation. That will come with some price premium, but that's also the price to be paid to achieve the carbon targets that we have.
Sustainability, especially around plastic packaging and recycling, is high on the agenda for the AFGC. CEO Tanya Barden says industry action on sustainability ranges from new technologies to providing more information to consumers. Tanya says protecting the environment has to happen across the whole supply chain.
The climate and food and grocery production are intrinsically linked, and our industry is very supportive of the ambition of achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050, and a number of our members have measures in place to actually reduce emissions significantly by 2030. We are looking at, across the supply chain, how we can work with farmers, with retailers, with transport and logistic companies, with governments to be able to reduce emissions. Some of the areas include improvements in soil quality and yields, working with farmers. Within manufacturing, we're using new technologies to be able to reduce the amount of water and energy that are used in production, to also be able to use technology to reduce the amount of wasted product. And then we're working closely with consumers and retailers as well to understand things like improvements in packaging formats and giving information about how to better recycle products. Technology is crucial for the industry to be able to move in a direction of being more sustainable, efficient and resilient as an industry. And there are a number of different areas that we can adopt that technology, from production through to providing more information to consumers, as well as all throughout the supply chain to make sure that we've got more efficiency and minimising any wasted resources.
Farming has an important role to play in helping to improve the sustainability of the food chain. For dairy, one of Australia's largest food and agriculture sectors, consumers want to know that safe and sustainable farming practices are used to deliver the nutritional benefits of the dairy they consume. For Fonterra Australia, that means being innovative across its supply chain, including working with its farmers to reduce emissions behind the farm gate. Louise Huber reports.
Rosemount agriculture in the north of Tasmania is set on hundreds of hectares of lush green grass. Pristine dairy country, and farmer James Greenacre is committed to keeping it that way.
I have a strong connection to the dairy industry and keen to see it progress into the future.
Driven by a passion for sustainable farming, animal well-being and producing high-quality milk, this property is managed by forward-thinking farmers.
And I guess for us, you know, the things that we're doing well, we can do better. So having a continuous improvement mentality to what we do and trying to get better and better at every day at what we do.
James is one of many farmers who have partnered with leading dairy company Fonterra Australia, home to some of Australia's most loved dairy brands, including Western Star, Bega, Perfect Italiano and Mainland, and Duck River in Tasmania. As part of its commitment to sustainability, Fonterra has set targets across its supply chain, including an aspiration to be net zero globally by 2050, zero solid waste to landfill by 2025, and 100% reusable, recyclable or compostable packaging by 2025. And it all starts on farm.
Consumers are increasingly want assurances around how their food is produced, where it's produced, and it's produced in a manner that's safe and sustainable. So we see a real opportunity to bring those two things together.
James and Fonterra's farm source paddock specialist Richard Braunsley regularly work together to lay out a path for continual improvement to address environmental priorities. This is done by analysing aspects such as the property's terrain, waterways and effluent and nitrogen management, guided by a tailored, specialised farm environment plan.
And that's given us a really great insight into our footprint on the land and with the cows, and so giving us that baseline gives us a view of where we are right now and what we need to do to improve on where we are.
And what we try to understand is those areas that they're very innovative in, we can learn from, we can share those stories with our customers, and then areas that they might not have the strongest focus and where we can help them with.
The Farm Environment Plan is paying dividends in different areas, including showing that the Rosemount farm is efficient in its emissions and can reduce its nitrogen use without impacting production.
It gives us access to a serious amount of expertise to allow us to improve on what we do in relation to becoming more efficient.
Which gives farmers an opportunity to set goals, showcase the great performance they already provide, and also set the targets for what they do in the future. It's a really exciting program for us.
This site here at Cressy is one of dozens of farms currently partnered with Fonterra to improve environmental outcomes, all working hard to maintain standards set by the industry and consumer. An hour down the road is another Fonterra farm committed to sustainable farming. It's trialling Asparagopsis seaweed as a natural supplement feed for dairy cows to reduce methane emissions. CSIRO research has found just small amounts of this seaweed can reduce emissions by more than 80%. Results so far means Fonterra and partner Sea Forest are ready to take it to the next phase, which involves expanding to include more farms. And what's great for Fonterra farmers, they will have access in dairy to the Asparagopsis solution if the trial proves successful.
Our role is around understanding how we might be able to do that at scale. It's food safety. The practicalities of feeding that.
Fonterra believes there will be no single solution to the methane challenge, with Asparagopsis seaweed just one of a number of solutions it is exploring. Caring for the environment for future generations is a collective responsibility. By bringing sustainability to the heart of everything they do, Fonterra and its farmers are driven across the board by passion, dedication and the knowledge that the dairy they produce is the best it can be for consumers and our environment.
The more you can care for the land and the animals themselves, the more they give back. And so part of that is, farming just not only for today, but for tomorrow and well into the future.
Getting on top of plastic packaging is one step forward to protecting our environment. We asked AFGC board members how the food and grocery industry is responding to the challenge of climate change.
So after spending over a decade focusing on energy intensity, we've now working very hard on new renewable sources of energy, everything from hydroelectrics through to biodigesters, etc. We're also seeing a big impact in our farming areas from climate change. So the ability to diversify our crop regions, to look at new technologies that minimize the usage of water and also give us access to water has become a priority for us.
For us, it's all about reduce, reuse and recycle. So we reduce the amount of inputs that we're putting into our products, reduce the amount of glass, reduce the amount of PET. We reuse where we can. For example, we've got a very nice glass flask, which our customers are actually reusing. They're turning them into vases. And then we recycle. So we use recycled inputs into our products when we can. So we use 50% in some of our PET bottles are made from recycled plastic post-consumer, and all of our cardboard cartons are made from recycled cardboard.
On the packaging side, we're looking to reduce the amount of plastic that we use. We're looking to redesign our packs so there's less problematic materials, that we have packs that actually are desired by waste collectors to turn them into resources, and to that point we're actually investing in those circular ecosystems to make sure that from collectors to processors there's an ecosystem that can turn that valuable resource into the products of the future.
Today we power 35% of our business with renewables. Within the next 12 months we'll get that to an over 50%. That's a combination of solar panels across our sites. It's also the investments that we're making in wind farms. And then it's moving that to 100% renewables. To then go to carbon reductions, it's really looking at our key areas of carbon emission and just point by point putting in programs to reduce. So renewables powered by, but clearly then our scope 2, which is beyond our direct operations, and then our scope 3, and that's a journey that will go on with our suppliers and our partners into the future.
While plastic remains a key global challenge, the food industry has evolved in how it tackles waste. From food production to consumption, progress is being made to reduce waste across global food supply chains. Sealed Air is using innovation and collaboration to help create a circular approach to reduce food and packaging waste, as Stephen Claney reports.
Globally, organisations across the supply chain are adopting new strategies and collaborating to make our food supply chains more sustainable. Once aspirational, circular economies are now being established.
No one organisation can deliver this end game of circularity we need. Collaborations with organisations like Plastic Energy, like with Red Cycle, these are partners that are bringing technologies and capability to make these high-performance plastics circular.
For circular plastics technology developer Plastic Energy, Sealed Air provides vital collaboration along the supply chain.
The need for collaboration to succeed in Australia is critical. Technology is only part of the solution, but nothing will happen without utilising the knowledge and experience of each company within the value chain.
The collaboration has led to producing packaging which, instead of going to landfill, can be recycled again and again back into food contact materials. President of Sealed Air Asia Pacific, Alessandra Facine, underlines the importance of brands working together.
Let's join hands and collaborate to build and promote circular economy, enabling packaging to be recovered by actively engaging with partners to deliver recyclable materials that are actually recycled.
An example is Sealed Air joining ExxonMobil and grocery store Ahold Delhaize in the US to divert landfill plastic through advanced recycling.
So it is Sealed Air teaming up with a resin maker and a large grocery store company to recycle flexible packaging for new food-grade applications. And this is just one example.
Getting this right, of course, is a big deal, but it can be done in small steps. For example, meat packaging. These absorbent pads, millions and millions of them end up in landfill every year. So Sealed Air has redesigned its packaging so they're not needed. That's another step forward for recycling.
The recyclable Cryovac Hydrolock padless tray found in the meat and seafood retail case uses inbuilt cells to retain moisture. It is products like these which are enabling the circular economy.
Sealed Air is designing for supply chain efficiency, making sure we eliminate waste in supply chain. We're designing to delight consumers so that they have a good experience.
And these innovations continue. Sealed Air overcame a problem for Australia's largest family-owned pork producer whose black trays were sent to landfill. Through a packaging redesign and the use of a new dye, consumers can now recycle Cryovac brand black trays.
But it has this lovely blue dye running through it, which makes it recognisable to the infrared scanners in the sorting plants at the recycling plants. So for us, this was just a no-brainer, as it allowed us to switch over to a black tray, which was curbside recyclable.
And of course, end consumers also have a critical role to play.
So Alan, what have you bought here today? Well, actually, I bought a piece of meat packaging and my week's collection of soft plastics.
How important is it that people do recycle like this?
Consumers are critical. Recycling starts with the consumer putting a piece of plastic in the right location. But we have a challenge here where consumers really do want to recycle, but don't always know exactly how or where. And it's critical we use smart packaging solutions to deliver that information and enable the right outcomes.
The providers of the bins at stores like Coles and Woolworths place a high value on the relationship with Sealed Air.
And one of the reasons that we really value this partnership so highly is because Sealed Air is so incredibly innovative. It truly is a partnership, and I think what's important when you're talking about the value chain of soft plastics is that you need the material entering the marketplace to be of the highest quality and most recyclable.
For retailers, it's critical to deliver a low-carbon circular economy. That means making the right choices in packaging materials that deliver an efficient, high-performance supply chain, but at the same time can be circular. We have to get all of that right and make a decision with whole-of-life cycle thinking.
We heard a little earlier from AFGC board members on how the industry is responding to the challenges of a changing climate. Now we hear the views of Peter West from CCEP and Graham Dugdale of Simplot as they expand on the industry's sustainability initiatives.
Australia has always been known for its clean, green produce. And I think if we don't embrace technology and learn to collaborate around the new challenges of climate change and all the other components of it that require a circular economy, I think we stand a chance of not enhancing and even embracing that position around the world. So for me, we have to learn to embrace new technologies, and these include everything from artificial intelligence to electronic vehicles to new sources of energy. And we need to do that collectively wherever possible so that we get the best leverage and maintain that clean green position.
For a lot of my career, it's been about globalisation. It's about being offshoring, it's about moving. But as soon as you put carbon front and centre to your future, then we're talking about localisation. So we are going to see a change over the next 2 years of industry returning to Australia, because it's the only way you can actually achieve your carbon targets is to do that. So I'm incredibly buoyant of what this means for food and grocery manufacturing and our suppliers here into the future. And so I think we're going to see a real boom. So we're moving away from globalisation to localisation. That will come with some price premium, but that's also the price to be paid to achieve the carbon targets that we have. And therefore we're going to have to build that efficiency into the way we do business and to our pricing into the future.
Today's consumer has an ever-expanding range of food options, including plant-based and alternative proteins alongside more traditional choices. V2 Food is one of those at the forefront of plant-based protein development and is one of the world leaders in developing meat alternatives for chains such as Hungry Jack's. Adam Hancock has this story.
It might look like a burger, smell like a burger, and even sizzle like one. But this is no ordinary burger. This creation from Australia-based V2 Food is purely plant-based and could be a way to tackle the growing problem of how to feed the planet.
Normally in beef you've got rendered beef fat. Here we've got a vegetable fat, and that fat actually renders down and hits the surface. Then you get a nice sear, a nice Maillard reaction to give you that flavour.
It's not just burgers. V2, which was founded out of Australia's science agency, CSIRO, also makes mince, chicken nuggets, schnitzels, bolognese and meat pies. But hold the meat.
I was pretty wowed, and I've been with R&D for like 20 years.
To make the protein, legumes are crushed into a mixture, which is then processed to unlock the nutrition. Fibre from bamboo is added to keep the patty together, sunflower oil to make it juicy, and then coconut to make it sizzle. Even a splash of beetroot juice is added to make it red. Its founder says they've made additions for nutrition as well.
So we've fortified our product to make sure it's got the essential B vitamins and iron and zinc and minerals that there is in meat. In addition, we have fibre, and that's probably the one thing that we lack in our diet. And plant-based meat, V2, has got a good source of fibre. It comes in with the soy that we use, and we're very happy it's there, because that's actually the major nutritional need for Australians.
One of V2's investors is actually one of the country's most famous carnivores.
I claim to have eaten more hamburgers than any living Australian. I've been in this business over 50 years.
Jack Cowan of Hungry Jack's fame has teamed up with V2 to launch its first meat-free burger.
If you look at the numbers, we got 7.5 billion people on the earth, and the projections are we're going to have 10 billion people by 2050, and the existing food system just cannot cope. So looking at what's going on in other places, we saw the development of plant-based meat, which was a more cost-effective way of being able to take protein out of the plant and turning it into a meat product.
As these plant-based alternatives come more into the mainstream, they're gaining a prominent position on menu boards like here at Hungry Jack's. And there's also a business opportunity, especially for the local market.
So Australia is incredibly well positioned to capitalise on this growing protein opportunity. We can become a global leader in this space. We've got proximity to growing Asian markets. We've got a reputation for producing premium, safe food products, as well as strong biosecurity.
But the question is, do they taste any good? So here we go now. Let's give it a try. That genuinely tastes like the real thing. You really wouldn't know the difference. The flavour is very similar, very good texture. It's the real deal. And I'm not the only one who thinks it. This is what some Aussies thought.
Real good.
This is just as good as a meat patty. Seriously.
Tastes like beef. No, you wouldn't know.
As demand for food increases around the world, these products are going to be another tool in the armoury in the battle to keep the planet fed.
That's all for this episode of Sustaining Australia TV. Join us for other episodes which will look further at the circular economy, the important role of digital technology and the supply chain, and skills, growth and the community. For now, from me and the team, it's goodbye.